Alright, so what I'm about to say is not breaking news. The Clippers are really relying on Paul George. Obviously, every team is relying on their second best player or third best player, but the Clippers are relying on Paul George to be one of the greatest shooters of all time. And if you look at regular season basketball, he kinda is. Since he came back from that devastating injury almost 10 years ago at this point, he's shooting 39% from 3 on nearly 8 attempts per game. Besides Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, a lot of people aren't doing that. I could think of like CJ McCollum maybe, Kyrie Irving maybe. I don't know how long that list is, but people shooting with that volume and efficiency is rare. Paul George is 11th all-time in three-pointers made. When he retires, he's probably gonna be top 5. And the Clippers are built with that in mind. The problem is when it comes to playoff basketball, as a Clipper, he's only shooting 33% from 3 in the playoffs. And if you include the 11 games with OKC, he's still only shooting 33% from 3 in the playoffs over his last 4 trips. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm oversimplifying it, but this Clippers team is not winning anything with Paul George shooting 33% from 3. And it's not that he can't do other things, right? I know he can do other things. Paul George is one of my favorite players. The point is this Clippers team is kind of built around his shooting. Kawhi is going to get you 4 or 5 up a game. He's going to knock him down at a 40% clip. Even James Harden is going to get you 6, 7, 8 a game. If he gets to 10, 11, there's probably going to be some tough step backs in there, which is fine. You need those. But Paul George is the one that gets you 8 to 10 clean looks from 3 within the flow of the offense. To a lesser extent, Norman Powell, but really Paul George. This team is 20th in terms of three-pointers attempted per game, while being 3rd in three-point percentage. Please don't take this out of context, right? Paul George is much better than these players, right? Paul George is a good finisher, good mid-range game, great handle. We all know this, right? He's a much better player than everybody I'm about to name. You think about like the Phoenix Suns. If Grayson Allen isn't knocking down his threes, that's a problem. Paul George better than Grayson Allen, we get that, right? But he fills that role on the Clippers. He's the volume shooter. You think about the Pelicans. When Trey Murphy's knocking down threes, they look unguardable. When he's not, they look very guardable. He's that guy for the Clippers. He's the one that keeps the defense honest. He's the one that can get you 10 threes in a game. Again, please don't take that as me saying Paul George is on Grayson Allen's level. That's not what I'm saying at all. You guys understand what I'm saying. The Clippers this year are 31-14 when Paul George makes 3 or more three-pointers. They are 20-16 when he makes 3 or less. It's not surprising. Nothing I'm saying is surprising. It's just the fact the Clippers are relying on Paul George to be an all-time great shooter in the playoffs when he hasn't shown us that in a long time. He has 1 series in his last 7 where he shot above 40% from 3. I'm a Pelicans fan and we might match up with the Clippers in the first round, so I'm not rooting for Paul George. But in any other situation, I would be rooting for Paul George. I would love him to have this elite playoff run shooting the basketball. I'm just telling you guys, in order for the Clippers to win it all, he has to have a playoff shooting run that he hasn't had since Indiana. And that's just me talking about on the court. I didn't even mention all the baggage that is coming with Paul George right now. The whole Shea situation, if they meet OKC, the pressure on Paul George there. The fact that Kawhi already got his extension, Paul George does not have his. I just feel like we know exactly what we're getting from Kawhi Leonard. We know exactly what we're getting from Russ, good or bad. We know exactly what we're getting from Harden, good or bad. To me, the whole thing just hinges on Paul George being a real sniper in the playoffs. If he gets hot, they can beat anybody. If he's really this 41% from 3 on 8 attempts per game, that's what he's doing in the regular season. If he can do that in the playoffs, they can beat anybody. But if he goes through a slump, this team is out. Maybe in the first round. Say they match up with the Mavericks, they're gonna need that firepower. If they match up with the Phoenix Suns, they're gonna need that firepower. Even if they match up with my Pelicans, the way to beat the Pelicans is outshoot them. Again, I know it's very simple. I know I'm not saying anything profound when I say this, but really if you look around the league, there aren't a lot of star players where their main role on offense is be the one to knock down threes. There's not a lot of star players. This team is kind of built like Paul George is Klay Thompson, so I just find it unique, I find it interesting, and I find there to be a lot of pressure on Paul George. But you guys let me know in the comments down below. Do you agree with anything I'm saying? Am I oversimplifying it? Can the Clippers really win with Paul George being an average three-point shooter in the playoffs? Because I don't see it. You guys let me know in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm out. Peace.